quite a big panel. This is this is one responsibility that's always given to me, and a Herculean task, I must say. One of the difficulties of moderating panels is to remember what specifically is to be covered, talking to who, right? So that kind of gets accentuated here. But anyway, let me begin this, discussion by saying that. So all of us over the past, let's say since the morning yesterday, we have had multiple rounds of, we have seen multiple rounds of discussions, etc., about renewables, and we have talked about a lot of things. But it's also a fact that this is one space which is very, very, speedily changing, right? So the pace of transformation is huge. And therefore, when that happens, a lot of times it's very important to take a pause and look back at things, how they have folded out and how they're folding, and to make a sense of where are we headed, right? So that's also a clue to which is the theme of this panel discussion, which is the latest advances, what is happening across technology, policy, etc., regulation, finance, very, very important aspects for the growth of RE. Let me begin this discussion in specifically the order in which we have mentioned it here. Arvind, let's begin with you. You're the CFO of ESL. Now, I know ESL as a company which is which has a very specific purpose. Okay, so the idea of energy efficiency is to basically or to take a look at things from a demand side point of view, right? And the kind of work that ESL has done is commendable, right? And there are at least 2 or 3 very, very important market disrupting things that ESL has done over years, including things like PAT or LED scheme, Ujala, etc., etc., and we can go on. In that larger context, as CFO of a company which is known for market disruption, here we have energy transition coming in, right? And RE is happening. Right. So how do you, as a company and as a senior executive there, look at your role in that entire transition? What specifically are the opportunities and challenges that you face?
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, first of all, inviting all of us here and talking about this. I think Suman made it very right, I guess. You know what, we are gonna give it to the next generation. I always used to talk whenever, for last few years when I started learning about energy, learning about efficiency. You used to talk about light. I think everywhere in India, outside India, one thing which you do it good is putting light on our face. We are not able to see who is sleeping and who is snoring, which is good after lunch. We can simply see the, front, that light, that energy, everywhere, God is there somewhere, but it stays in the form of light for every religion. In India, outside India, at least in India, there is nothing called no religion, but outside India, it has started happening. So I personally feel there is some motive behind it, putting this energy or light into this particular forum, where even ET kind of people, they are putting this fourth summit for all of us, because it is so important for all of us. And I used to tell the people, be it anything, but what we are gonna give to the next generation. Now, there are two things, demand and supply. Whatever is available, what I am using. Now, in case, I think you people must be aware about it and must have discussed about it. I'm third largest producer and consumer, India, in the world. But my consumption is hardly 4.5 lesser than China and even 10 times lesser than USA. Means how much I am gonna use in the future, because my population is increasing, my usage is increasing, and that's why I personally feel ki yes, efficiency, which name I carry with my company, efficiency is very much required. And because I'm finance person by profession, I always used to talk about that cost cutting, cost reduction. I always tell people, hey, there is nothing about something called cost cutting, cost reduction. It is cost optimization. We can optimize the cost. We can increase the efficiency, or we can reduce the demand, or we can, how fast we can run our working capital cycle in case of typical finance language. And that is where I think we all people come into the picture, how efficiently the available resources we can use, and how much best future we can give to my next generation. I think these are the basic philosophies about it. About my company, Energy Efficiency Services Limited, we born about 14-15 years ago. And I think we are one of the oldest companies in India. When we started thinking about it, yes, this efficiency is required. And we started, I think you covered my that Ujala thing or street light thing. And you people may be aware of, at least my friend is aware about this fact, because he must have done that analysis, or because he is from ET, he is supposed to know. uh, More than, 1.5 crore kind of street light across India, more than 1,500 ULVs we installed. So it was during period of those 9-10 years when we made this possible. I still remember 25 or 30 years ago when I was going back to my home after watching a movie in the night, it will be scary for me because there is no light. Now I can say in most of the villages, in most of the states, wherever we work, wherever other private sectors they are working, now it is there. And same way, when I'm sure the people who are of kind of our age or even younger than us, they must be remembering we used to buy that LED bulb for 500 rupees or LED tube lights for 550 rupees or something. We brought it down to some 50 rupees or 45 rupees. And across India, we distributed kind of 37 crores odd number of, bulbs and lights, these LED lights. And due to these LED lights, it's not about more roshni, but it is more about that energy efficiency, less consumption and more power. So all these things the company is doing. And in case of my, so many these town hall meetings, I used to say, whether I am there or not, whether company is there or not, but this concept is gonna there, where we need to take this journey for the future. So I'm very much there.
Thanks, Arvind. Thanks for that great comment. My only request to all the panelists is we are 8 people here, right? So please keep time in mind. Be brief. Arvind, you didn't actually answer the question. Okay, my specific question was, what specifically can you tell us? What is the energy efficiency perspective on RE, right? Or if there is anything specific that ESL is working on, right? So we know that transition is happening. RE is coming up. How do you look at that transition in the sense that if you can be slightly more specific in terms of what we are targeting, whether it's projects, initiatives, where does the opportunity lie?
Right. Now, in case of other than street lights, other than LED bulbs, we are into smart metering, and we have already installed more than 44 lakhs kind of smart meters. We are into the process of installing across all states in India. More than 2 crores of smart meter we are going to install over a period of time. And a smart meter, it looks like a smartphone or a smart meter, but believe me, it saves your transmission loss, it saves your infra cost. There are so many benefits about it. And then we are into EV, and not only EV vehicles, but now EV buses are there, because there are so many new schemes recently. Even PM announced that we are going for all those things also. Different states, different stakeholders, and then into solar, which even so one even covered. So we are looking all those possibilities, and with the help of my own something called ESL Mart, so we have got something kind of Amazon kind of facility where somebody can go there, even B2B, B2C, all those facilities are available there. And then energy efficient bulbs, LEDs, fans, ACs, all those things are available, so that we can guide those people, educate those people. All these things are there, which I am doing as of now. And those stoves, power efficient stoves, so
Yeah.
all those things, even where my rural level place, people can kind of attract into it and use all those things.
Thanks.
So I'm very
Thanks.
much into
Thank
it.
you. Thanks, Arvind. Sanil, you are a very seasoned kind of a industry leader. Somebody who has seen this industry mature over years. As a power company, and you have oil and gas background there also. With that kind of experience, how do you look at the topic of latest advances in clean energy? Well, when I say latest advances, what is the latest that is happening in clean energy or RE front? What are the top two things that come to your mind?
Thank you. So, if you see the commitments of our government, that is net zero by 2070, and today we are having something like 4 lakh plus megawatts of installed capacity, and we are at a very low per capita energy consumption. This is going to go up. This year we saw a sudden jump. If you see the peak load went up by more than 15-20% this year. And when we are saying today we are at around 2 lakh megawatts in renewable capacity. In terms of energy, it would be around 12 to 15%, maybe less than 15%. So there is a huge gap now to reach to that net zero levels. And the way that we are, implementing the renewable energy projects, that is just even not able to cope up with the increase in the demands that is happening, year on year basis. And the renewable energy projects are bringing in newer challenges of intermittency and also the harmonic field problems and all that are coming up. That is a great control problems are increasing. So with all this, we also have, if you look at the government's plan, we also have the plan for installing battery energy or pumped energy storage projects. That's absolutely necessary because if you want to harness RE power, which is intermittent, and you want to have grid stability, a storage system is absolutely necessary. And I think that's where a lot of R&D is going on, and a lot of changes have happened in the recent year, and the prices have fallen down. If you look at battery energy storage project, that has come down. If you look at the latest tenders, 2 years ago it was 10 lakh per megawatt per month. It has come down to something like 4 lakh per megawatt per month. That's a reduction of 60%. I mean, less than 50% of the cost. And this has been possible due to various technological advancements and capacity building. Like ma'am was explaining, a lot of PLI incentives have been given. So solar panels have come in, battery storage projects, battery manufacturing is going to come in. China already have got a glut of capacity of manufacturing of batteries. All this is helping us in reducing the cost. So these are the things that are happening today. But however, having said that, since our capacity addition is accelerating slowly, we still would require all these sources of energy, whether it is coal, gas, or solar, or wind, or hydel, or nuclear. And nuclear is again a very nice option that is coming up today with the modular reactors. I'm sure that the nuclear option would increase. We had issues with the private sector coming in because they could not take up the liability clauses. But I think government is working on it so that maybe private participation also would be possible in nuclear sector. And we also have new joint ventures like with NTPC coming up, which would definitely be able to ramp up that nuclear portfolio. So that's where we are today. We'll require this bouquet of sources, and we would, at that 2070, we hope to achieve that net zero.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Anil. So like you rightly said, there is a bouquet here, a bouquet of many things, and you've mentioned a lot of them. Nuclear SMR, I'm sure you're referring to SMR, small modular reactors, and we have things like green hydrogen, battery, etc. A bouquet of many things, but then also a bouquet of many things which are still budding, right? Let me be specific in terms of what I want to ask you. In your own company, when you look at a lot of this list of initiatives or whatever you call it, right? The new age energy systems that are coming up. What are the things you're focusing on, and what has been the experience like?
See, if you look back, we have basically a gas turbine-based power plant in Tripura. We supply electricity to all the northeastern states, all the 7 northeastern states. We are almost supplying around 25% of their requirement. This gas turbine plant at that time was one of the most efficient and the most, the least polluting power plant at that time available. At that time, the solar plants were costing too much. I think it was 19 rupees per unit when we started for the first solar power plant. That's the time I'm saying. So these gas turbine based power plants which came, NTPC also put up a lot of power plants. This was put up by ONGC. And these were the best in class at that point of time in terms of efficiency and emissions. And that was required at that point because you are installing that in a region where it is totally green and all lush, beautiful region where you don't want to pollute. So at that point itself, it was really something out of ordinary, and it was very challenging to bring those turbines. We took them through Bangladesh, installed them. It was a real challenge. Now presently, because we don't want to expand onto the fossil fuels, that's a mandate by the government. So we are working on a few renewable projects. One is a battery storage project which we are working on along with Assam. Assam requires around 2,500 megawatts of battery storage projects, out of which we are doing 250 as of now. And then we are working with Odisha government for a wind project as well as a pump storage project. These are the 3-4 projects which we are working on in the renewable space.
Okay, thank you. Let me turn to you, Mr. Amaranath. So Karnataka, right, is one of the let's say most advanced, or if not most, at least one of the more advanced states when it comes to some of the solar or renewable segments, like CNI, for example. Huge growth that has happened there, and in a relatively short period of time. My question to you is, what does it take to create in a sector that is so fast changing, right? It is changing so fast. What does it take to create that growth story in terms of the growth of CNI that is there, or rooftops, for example, or even utility scale? What does it take specifically?
Yeah, thank you. I would like to start from where Madam left. She started with the Om Suryaya Namaha. And she also invoked the grace of Varuna and Vayu. Karnataka is blessed with all these three. So that synergy is already there with us. So we have one of the world's largest solar park, Pavgada Solar Park. And even wind, we have a very good potential of up to 124 gigawatts, which has been determined by NIVI, National Institute of Wind Energy. And with respect to solar energy, we have a potential of almost 350 gigawatts. So to facilitate promotion in all this, we have started working with the revenue department, whether the lands, which is one of the most important criteria. Our experience with respect to Pavgada Solar Park was the lease model. That has been very successful. And based on that encouragement, the villagers next to this, they have come on their own to give almost around 10,000 acres of land for establishment of one more park. So now we are moving towards that also. So we are now, if everything goes well, we will be tendering by December for the second solar park in that area, which will be based on BESS. It will not be linked only to solar park. We will also have a battery storage there. So with this, we also are working towards having our own solid network, a strategic network of the state transmission utility. CTU is also coming up with a lot of evacuation centers all over the states. It could be starting with the main centers like Gadag, Koppal, where we have a very good potential. We were always the first when it comes to solar policy also. We came up with the RE policy in 2009, and now we have the present 2022 to 27, the latest RE policy, which paves way for CTU connectivity, RE park developments, as well as the strengthening of the intrastate grid also. So we have worked with the revenue department with respect to availing lands. So it could be the lease model or it could be the purchase model. So how best it would be to adopt it there, we are already working. Then we also have a E&EC policy because CREDL is a state designated agency by BE for E&EC as well as by MNRE for promoting RE projects. So we have a dual role. We have to safeguard E&EC, as it was rightly pointed out. With the available resources, I will be able to meet the demand. RE will be a new one. But being a state designated agency in both these, so we have a dual role, and that is being taken care of. We have around 12 to 19 gigawatts, which is coming in the next 5 years, even in the Shapatapatra, in the latest Gandhinagar Global RE Summit. The state government, led by our ACS, they declared that around 12 gigawatts of solar and 7 gigawatts of wind will be the potential which we are targeting. So I would like to use this platform to invite the manufacturers also to come. Particularly, Pavagada is a border between Karnataka and Andhra Pradesh. We have two parts by the side of Pavagada. One is the existing Pavagada solar park, and you have a solar park in NP Gunta also. So if we can get some manufacturers, etc. there, that would help us for renovation and modernization. With the existing facility, we can upgrade it to a higher capacity. So this is all what we are seeing. We have an ambitious target of almost 10 gigawatts by the end of 2027. So, but to meet this 500 gigawatts by 2030, we also have a resource adequacy plan, wherein we are planning to add almost 5 gigawatts every year. And by the end of 2034-35, we hope that we will be adding another 40 gigawatts to our existing 18 gigawatts. So these are ambitious plans. Let's hope, as Madam pointed out, that the industry really comes up and we make use of it.
Okay, thank you. You're broadly saying huge potential exists, and on back of that, in the backdrop, you have basically worked out things like lease model, for example, land and evacuation, to address specifically the kind of hurdles that typically come up for industries to grow.
Yes, yes. The lease model, we have already worked out with the revenue department also with respect to the new Rapte Park. So where they have fixed around 25,200 rupees per acre per annum with a 5% escalation once in 2 years. We are replicating this model for Kusum C also, wherein we are going towards solarization of agricultural feeders. At the same time, we have already availed approval from MNRE for installing around 40,000 solar pumps. So that we are ambitiously targeting. I hope we would like to achieve it by 31st of March 25. So these are the targets.
Thank you. Thanks. Mani, you've been listening to this entire conversation so far. And I'm in fact wondering what can I ask you. So World Bank is, if you look at World Bank, it has been involved in India's energy growth story right from the beginning. Okay, I mean, since the times RE was not the topic of the day. I mean, when you look at RE today, right, and I'm sure you take part in a lot of these kind of discussions where people say a lot of good things are happening, and they are happening. But from your perspective, as a bank, how would you respond if I were to ask you, what are the top 2 or 3 latest things that are happening in RE, right? Which as a banker, you would kind of want to, latch onto as trends or opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. Just one correction. I'm not a banker. I'm a development bank. Bankers basically go for the financial returns, whereas a development bank like the World Bank is where we don't invest in any project where the government of India hasn't asked us to come in. Having said that, obviously we understand the market and we do our own kind of analytical work to understand what is required. But just coming back to the question as to where and the role of the World Bank, just to put it on the thing, is basically, if you see, we are the lender of the last resort. When no one else, your commercial finance is not coming in, then what happens is, and I'll give examples also of that sort, that we come in to open a market. For an example, if you take the solar rooftop market, way back in 2016, it wasn't moving. At that point of time, MNRE asked us to come in, provide a line of credit to make, so basically you make finance accessible at cheaper rates than the market. That was a time the solar prices hadn't really gone down the way they have now. And at that point, rooftop only made sense for commercial and industrial sectors. Now it makes sense for residential as well. So at that point of time, what we did was we gave a line of credit to State Bank of India to give concessional loan for solar rooftop. But again, in a nascent market which no one has invested in, financing is not the only thing which is required. You actually need the entire ecosystem with it. And that's where a huge technical assistance was given to 17 states, where we actually helped the states to put in the solar rooftop policy, define the guidelines, capacity building which was required. There was a big pushback from the distribution companies at that time, if you remember, because CNI were the paying customers, and so basically that was the journey. So where World Bank comes in is where there's a nascent technology, where the market needs a little nudge, needs proof of concept before they can really put in the money. Having said that, now at this point of time, which are the 2-3 things which we see? So, to be honest, I think when it comes to solar and wind, the classic ones, I think they have reached their commercial viability. There's no support required except what government is already pushing for, manufacturing support, so that we can do it in-house. But they can't really meet our gigawatt requirement that we have. We have to look at, and what government has done right now, the offshore wind. I think offshore wind, being a nascent technology, the first project of India, Tamil Nadu 4 gigawatt has been bid out, 500 gigawatts has just come out for Gujarat, one with VGF, one without VGF. Now that's where the support is required. We can look at the shared infrastructure, we can look at the capacity building, we can look at the port infrastructure, grid infrastructure. So all those things will have to be looked at. So we'll have to start exploring different technologies which haven't come in. Also, when it comes to integration with renewable energy, so battery storage, we have a lot of tenders which have come out for battery storage. The prices have really gone down in the last few tenders, but it still we haven't seen the implementation on ground. I think this also needs a nudge across the states. If we really have to increase our RE, pump storage is equally important, but it will take time. Therefore, I think another push which is required is for battery storage. And when we talk about battery storage and coming to the ecosystem story, we cannot forget about the recycling and the reuse of batteries. Because then we will create a problem which we will be talking about 5 years later once these batteries see the end of life. So we have to start thinking about right now what incentives have to be put in place to make sure that these things are taken. And lastly, because I know there are lots of other panelists, I think what we need to focus on, and what World Bank has started doing, which we weren't doing earlier. So you're right, when I also joined the World Bank, we were hardly talking about renewable energy. Then it became renewable energy. I think with renewable energy in the pockets that I have said, we focus on these, and Kusum obviously. I'm very interested in Kusum C, when it's farmer connected, not on the, so that I think it's a win-win for all, but it is very difficult to do. But the one thing that we have to focus on as World Bank, and we are starting, is on the industrial decarbonization and transport decarbonization. Because as we see, I think power sector is on a very good path now, but we have to also start looking at the hard to abate sectors, what needs to be done. Green hydrogen has to come in, you need to do that. I think in the interim, CCUS will play a role till we get to a net zero, what needs to be done there. And obviously the skilling part of this entire thing, because as we talk of new technologies, we have to look at the manpower and the skilling, so we don't have to get everything from outside, it's all in-house.
So basically, you are saying that the philosophy that the bank would generally follow in cases like this is to focus on areas where traditional capital isn't really either available or not viable, right? That's what the philosophy is. But then there is also the difficulty involved here, which is that it's a really long drawn process. Things like battery recycling, for example, it's a market has been developing, no doubt, but then it's taking a long time. So yeah, best of luck.
Thank you, we need it.
Shilpa, turning to you.
They have been very helpful in this particular segment, and as a World Bank or banker in your language. She helped me a lot to reach where I am as of now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mani. Shilpa, let me turn to you at this point. You are coming from a company which is, a big player and a really evolving player in solar EPC space. And that's again a space which in itself is significantly developing, right? There's a lot of business opportunity that exists in this space. Tell us about your experience, right? We have talked about what is happening in CNI. But as far as overall, solar EPC space is concerned, what is the kind of opportunity that exists there? What has been your learning in terms of developing the profile, at Gensol? And it's a huge profile, right? So please tell us.
Sure. Thank you so much, and great job on the event, and great job
Thank you.
on the
Thanks.
panel. So, I was going to skip my introduction remarks because they tend to be repetitive and mostly saying the same thing. But I will still say this: that in this net zero journey of up to 2070, I believe there are two milestones which are going to be important. The first one is 2030, and not because a lot of numbers have been told around that year, but also because it will be a marker for us to check whether we are on track for our Paris commitments. And the second milestone, which is significant, will be 2047, where India is committed to be Vikasit Bharat, while balancing the act of the growth in the energy demand and ensuring a transition. Power sector is the largest contributor to emissions, and the learned audience has had enough of this over the last 2 days. So reducing or decarbonizing power sector is going to be our combined single most largest contribution to the journey of net zero. Having said that, India, of course, ma'am, has given such a beautiful account of how robust our policies are, how comprehensive they are. And indeed, it is exciting time to be here. Yesterday, Simapreet ji was also mentioning that this is the right time to be in the solar industry. Gensol has positioned itself as one of the largest EPCs in the country. And what we bring to the table, apart from the plain vanilla solar, which we've now been doing. So we started our journey around 2008 with carbon as a carbon credit company, and we have now come to plain vanilla solar plus a lot of more things which I'll just say. So what we believe now as EPC, there is a lot of space, a large portion of the bids that are going out come to third-party EPCs. And what we bring to the table, having won recent tenders for storage, which were at landmark, they were actually the pivot points for the entire storage industry, the first tenders which were won by Gensol. So we bring to the table a hybrid solution. We bring to the table hydrogen as a solution to the industry, the C&I, which will definitely need to now focus more. And for that, we have a consortium with the Matrix, which is also our group company, and we won 2 bids for electrolyzers. So we are going to be manufacturing electrolyzers of up to 300 megawatt. We also have our eyes on the new technology. So we recently won the bio-waste to hydrogen project, which is a pilot project coming up by NTPC, Netra. So the new sources so not only looking at hydrogen as a feedstock, but even greening hydrogen in different ways, not just renewable energy is something we are looking at. We are also working on technology endorsement or technology partnership with some US and European companies for green steel. So these are the new things that Gensol brings to the table, and we are very, very excited. We are big on technology, and I believe, yes, these are exciting times for EPC per se, because there is an offering of end-to-end. There's an opportunity to be an end-to-end integrated player.
Thanks, Shilpa. So that's a lot of ambition, a lot of growth plan, etc. targeted, focused, focusing on specific areas that you mentioned. What are in order for all of these plans to materialize, right, successfully, what are your top two asks from the government, both at the center, all these state governments where you work in, and you do work across states?
Okay, so now there is a roadmap. The CEA has told us there is a 36 gigawatt of solar needs to be added every year, starting this year to 2030 March. And so roadmap is there. Around 25-30 gigawatt bids go out every year. So the demand has been created. Now, why is the capacity addition not happening on ground? That is the I'll try to answer your question. So one thing as EPC and IPP developers we all see is there a certainty to the supply chain, and by supply chain we mean there are multiple aspects to it, but let me talk about one or two things. Module being the largest component. So we've done a lot on PLI through PLIs and other schemes to bolster our domestic manufacturing. The recent discussion on ALMM on the cells is a great step. It will ensure that cell capacities come up in the country. Now, is there a definite offtake for the manufacturers? That is one thing that we ask. That let there be, and let the manufacturing sector have support from the government on two things. One, definite offtake in the form of mandatory DCR component, and two, India should not only focus on self-sufficiency but also not miss out on the opportunity of exporting and becoming the manufacturing hub as an alternative to our neighbors, wherein the European, I was at an event at ISA, and EU is actually looking at India to be an alternate to China today. And we have the capacity, we need capability building, we need to upskill our teams, but that is possible. So the second ask is that let the manufacturers also be part of the international market by way of creating definite offtake, and whoever are our natural allies as a country, the government could make sure that the domestic manufacturers are able to export. Let's talk about export credits to them. So we need to make our manufacturing industry not only enough for India, but also to be a major player in the international market. So that is one, and sorry, I'll just take one more time. So the second one is the consistency on policy, which is something, again, I was here yesterday, everyone feels that there is a gap, and electricity being the concurrent subject, states and centers. So what I'm trying to say here is that there are policies, like Sir just mentioned, Karnataka has a great policy, Orissa has a great policy, but are these policies visible, transparent, and in line with the center policies? So what I believe is that center should try to create a pull, not a push, to the states, wherein the alignment happens 100%. I'll just take one example on land. For example, each state has a land policy, and land is a major component of our capacity addition. Every state has a different take on whether the registration fee should be waived off, whether the alternate use is to be done. So every state thinks differently, and of course rightly so. They would have other priorities as well, but those all need to then also boil down to alignment with the capacity addition that you're targeting. And those are the kind of things that need now transparency. Let there be a digital portal where every state puts up their policies, puts up their relevant provisions, and let, as investors, as IPPs, let everybody have a look at it at one place. So that is the second ask.
Thank
and
you.
I have many more, but I'll limit here.
Thank you. Thanks, Shilpa. Again, a great answer. We have Raghunath here from Swelect, again, a company which is into manufacturing. You listen to her. Would you also say, if you look at her comment, she's basically saying perhaps the manufacturing, from the policy and regulatory side of things, if you look at manufacturing, the way we want to incentivize it, there has to be perhaps more need for, making it better from exports point of view, right? Or perhaps some bit of tinkering on how we, the kind of how we manage at the state level a lot of these policies. What is your thought on that?
Yeah. See, thank you, Iti, and thanks for inviting us. And it's a pleasure and an honor to be with dignitaries here. Yeah, the policy, yes, it should be a unanimous policy, whether it is state or central. I do definitely agree with Shilpa here. Yes, unless we have a long-term visibility in terms of the entire value chain. When I say value chain, be it cell, then you have glass. I'm just talking, taking an example of module manufacturing, since the subject was already opened up. Then we have the EVA, then we have the aluminum frames, and then we have the junction box. So the entire ecosystem, the policy should be there. Yes, there is a hyper focus on the cells and the hyper focus on the ALM module manufacturing. But what about the EVA? Nobody is talking about incentivizing or having a policy or a PLI scheme for the EVA backsheet or the glass, or for example, even who's controlling the metal prices now? The aluminium, and you have other minerals like, for manufacturing of solar cells, you have lead, tin, and you have silver. And those are some minerals, and we need policies on the manufacturing in the entire ecosystem, which actually helps. That is something needed. And from a manufacturing standpoint, when we actually talk about the government, there are a few things. I do have a laundry list of things which we manufacturers should and are aspiring and will work for. If you see, I would, Sumanji just mentioned, as per the ALM list, India already has close to 90 gigawatt of module manufacturing, and around 12 gigawatt of cell manufacturing, which has come in. So this is all nice, but if you see the entire gamut of activities what a manufacturer should look at. Yes, we need the government policies in place, but otherwise there are a few things we as manufacturers can bring in. Just to tell you, see, there is more than 100 gigawatt of TOPCon cell manufacturing capacity in China. And we Indian manufacturers are still grappling with the monoPERC technology, which is already one generation behind. So now we are already in TOPCon now. So all of us are grappling to bring in the TOPCon cells, and there is no established line in India right now to take on TOPCon manufacturing. So
What is the point?
yeah, the point is we need policies which are more relevant in terms of R&D and research. And a lot of the thing is the innovation and the R&D is happening in Europe and Americas, but the consumption and the commercialization is happening in India. So we need to also invest equally in terms of policy, common policies, also incentivizing R&D as well. That's what I was trying to drive at as well. Yeah.
So when you work at the state level, do you put that point up? to
Certainly. Yes, certainly. In fact, Swelect is also in the advisory board at state level. We are pushing for semiconductor labs, and in national level also through NCEFI, we are trying to push R&D in cell manufacturing as well. So these are some policies which has to be robust and more relevant and current, and incentivize for the cutting edge technology. Because as it is, monoPERC is getting phased out, and we are already in TOPCon, and that's where we are headed at. Yeah.
Amaranath, he's looking at this thing as a manufacturer from a manufacturing point of view, but you're sitting on the other side of the fence. How do you? What's your thought on that? Do you think at the level of the state, in your own state, for example, what is the kind of space and the intention which is available there to understand these challenges and work upon them to bring about a holistic kind of a manufacturing ecosystem which promotes, like he said, efficiency at large scale. Yeah. So how do you comment on that?
Yeah. First of all, I will welcome him to Karnataka, because I also approached on the same issue since because particularly Pavakada and these are the driest areas. So being very near to the border of Andhra Pradesh, we also have a project of RE, a solar park in Andhra also. So if some industry comes there, that will help both of us, both the states. And there is already a potential there. And our Commerce and Industries Department is, the policy is very clear with respect to land and etc. So we would also promote it. We will also help them in promoting and facilitating in identifying of land and etc. So that can always be done by the government of Karnataka. So any incentive towards putting up an industry is most welcome by us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me at this point turn to Rajeev from IGL. IGL again, like I mentioned earlier about ESL, it's seen as a huge success story in our country, mostly because significant and very speedy expansion of clean energy access, right, across multiple states. What can you tell us from your own experience, in the sense that IGL's experience of expansion of RE, right, when that has to be done at a large scale and quickly? What are the top, what are the top 2 or 3 key requirements for that? So what are the top things to be done?
Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. First of all, we have to see the opportunity, what is available. If you see the IGL journey, which started 25 years ago, the IGL was built only to serve the DTC that time. And it was not designed to serve to the customers, basic normal commuter. But IGL was pioneer in that, and we started investing on the conversion of commercial vehicles, conversion of passenger vehicles through technology partners, and we could encourage the people to convert to CNG. That took us 3, 4, 5 years to convince people that CNG is a safe fuel, you can use it, and it will be efficient for you. And see today that today we are selling around 52 lakhs kg per day as IGL. If you compare with the number 2 or number 3 combined, we are selling more than them in CNG. The basic thing was that our conviction that this will work, and we invested a lot initially. Today also, if you go to our new GAs where we are operating in Ajmer and all, we have already invested around 900 crores. We are not making any profit out of that. But for any business to sustain, first it has to create the infrastructure. First it has to tell the customer that it is available. It is available across. For RE also, if you are able to convince the customer for EV that the infrastructure is available, ready for you, wherever you go, you will be able to charge your vehicle. It is not time taking. Then customer will convert. The first we have to invest, not looking for the profit. Initially, you will make ultimately profit. If you are in a business, you are bound to get profits. But without investing and thinking that something will happen and then I'll make profit, no, it will not happen. So IGL still, as on date, also invest around 12 to 1500 crores every year on expansion, and that's how we are able to generate confidence. And people sitting here, all are our customers. Either they'll be using PNG or CNG. We are adding around 3 lakhs PNG connections, which is almost like 30 to 40% what other total CGD companies are putting together. We are adding 3 to 4 lakhs in the area where almost sales are zero or minimal. We are not making any profit out of that. So investment or infrastructure development is the key of and innovation. What we have done, I'll just give an example that today one OEM has come up with a new bike. You will not believe, in 6 years back, we tried this at our own cost, and we converted 50 of scooters to CNG, and we gave the trial. Although later on we didn't pursue further, but now there are 2 OEMs are ready to manufacture bikes, and you believe that 66% of total fuel sale of petrol is through two-wheelers. So the OEMs are able to see that there is a business, they will come to us. And most of the OEMs are now, more than 100 variants of CNG vehicles are available in the country. When we started, there was no single vehicle. So we proved to them that this can be done. So we have to work on the infrastructure, innovation, and consistent pursuit, then only we'll be able to see the light of RE or EV or whatever we want to do. And IGL is there. We are putting around 50, currently 50 charging station across. We are in a great way. We are going for LNG. Our target is to put 100 LNG stations by 2030, which we see that if you want to decarbonize the transport segment, the LNG will be the key, because for going larger distance, EV may not work, but LNG will work. So if you are able to put infrastructure in LNG, we will be able to do it. And we are putting CVG stations, 50 CVG we are putting. Our own, we are putting 4. And our target is to convert at least 10% of our demand in next 3-4 years to CVG.
Thanks for taking us through that entire, so what does it take to be a success there? But at the state level, when you're working with projects like in case of gas, a lot of these projects are linear in nature, require approvals, ROW, etc., right? And so these are some of the things that CEOs tell me when people are working on the ground. What are the top 2 challenges that you face at the state level? How do you tackle them when it comes to expansion?
Yeah, so comes to expansion, if you see in Delhi, the biggest challenge for us is the land. We are very sorry to see the queue on our stations, but we are helpless. We are trying to put maximum stations, we are trying to put maximum equipments, but we need lands. So land is a scarcity in what a geographic area we work, Delhi NCR. So we need support on those, that we must be getting more lands, because Delhi you cannot have private lands. South, especially in the eastern Delhi and southern Delhi, you don't have private lands.
What about outside Delhi?
Outside Delhi, the challenge is that the cost of laying is very high. Delhi being the first, Delhi and Bombay being the first area of CNG and PNG, the cost of laying the pipelines are very low. But if you go to Haryana and all, it's very, very costly. You will not make money in next 30-40 years if you are laying. But we are still laying. But we request government to reduce the cost of laying the pipelines, because without pipeline we cannot reach every people. So these are 2 main challenges. And third one is that we believe that PNG should come under GST, because LPG is not a fuel to burn. LPG is a fuel to extract what you call petrochemicals. बर्निंग के लिए हमारे पास बहुत सारा गैस पड़ा हुआ है, आप उसको जलाइए, पेट्रोकेमिकल्स में एलपीजी यूज करिए. तो अगर आप पेट्रोकेमिकल्स में एलपीजी यूज करेंगे और बर्निंग के लिए इसको जीएसटी में डालेंगे तो ज़्यादा एडॉप्शन होगा टू इंडस्ट्री एंड कमर्शियल पीपल.
Thank you. I think there's something to be done about land. Every single person sitting here has talked about land and how it comes up, as an issue in growth. And we're talking about across not just RE but oil and gas also here. Anyway, Pankaj, welcome to the panel. You represent SunSource, right? It's again one of those companies which has grown significantly in areas like solar, right? What is your experience of working at the state level? Do you also face issues of the kind that people have mentioned so far? You're big in CNI again, right? And we know broadly about Karnataka. We have got some sense from him. What about other states? What is the kind of landscape like there? For if you want to, as an entrepreneur, if you want to get into that space there and grow.
So one of the biggest challenge which I see in terms of conversion from moving from fossil fuel to renewable energy by industry and commercial and industrial sector, specifically C&I. One of the biggest reasons is the policies are only friendly in couple of states. Although Ministry of Power has announced Green Energy Open Access Rule, GEOA, under which they allow even 100 kilowatt customer having a contract demand of 100 kilowatt, he can go and purchase power from a independent power producer. However, that policy is still to be adapted by most of the states. Uh, Open access is only right now available in 6 to 7 states so far in India. So out of 28 states and 8 union territories, only 6 states right now offer. So there is still miles to cover. I mean, states like Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra, Gujarat, UP, they have been leading from the front. Some of the states like Chhattisgarh still have policies. 4 new states have come up with policies, open access policy like Haryana, Rajasthan, Orissa, MP. So this year, Andhra Pradesh also there is a draft policy. So right now, even if these policies take shape in this 1 year, so we'll have again from 6 states to 10, 11 states. But idea is to develop almost about 50 gigawatt of power every year after year for next 5, 6 years. That's the plan. And if you are going to do that, then more states have to open. So more states have to adopt these policies. Secondly, within the states which are friendly states also, for specifically now I'll talk about C&I sector, the customer, all the developers like us, or because we get almost about 70% lending from financial institutions, and they have their certain own restrictions that you need to have high credit rating customers in your portfolio. So even in these 6, 7 states, A-rated customers and above or triple B plus rated customers and above would be 10%, 20%, in some states 25%, not more than that. Now, what about those 80% of the customers who want to go green, who want to buy green power? Now, because of the lack of space, they cannot have rooftops. Their requirement is more. They want to buy open access, but then this financial restriction doesn't allow developers like us to go to such customers and sell power, because most of the lenders would come back with the requirement, your portfolio, you should have 80-90% of the A-rated customers. So one is, a lot of financial engineering needs to be done, in which probably there needs to be certain instruments wherein backing, because most of these companies are already having their banking relationships. So whether investment based on their balance sheets, or there is some due diligence process by which there is some guarantees provided to developers or to investors who will put in their money. Like in SECI projects also, there are sovereign guarantees. Yeah. So that's why you are seeing huge development in utility scale projects. But C&I, that's a major challenge. Unless you don't find solutions for those 80% customers, we are not going to reach where we need to be as a nation. Yeah. So we'll always fall short of our country targets. So that is one. Secondly, now talking about large customers, which have themselves done the best on maybe in their energy transition journey. From 40% to some of them have reached replacing 80 to 90% of their energy with renewable energy. But then these are the customers who have major challenges in scope 3 emissions. So they have their supply chain which still are not green. Imagine a large automotive manufacturer who would have maybe thousands of dealerships across country. All of those dealerships, almost 99% of them are not able to buy green power. So scope 3 emissions is another challenge. How do you go about it? Whether you now, again, financial engineering is a requirement, wherein based on some guarantees from the principal company, who's an automotive manufacturer, you are able to supply power, give financial guarantee for their supply chain. So that's another requirement. So in terms of solutioning, we have moved ahead a lot. We are today able to provide round-the-clock green power in terms of offering hybrid solution, blending solar with wind, then pump storage and battery energy storage, which has also become cheaper now. But then in terms of financial solutions, we are still way behind, and nobody is looking at that way. Developers like us, and we are one of them, most of us only run after A-rated, triple B plus rated customers and try and back that business. But then lot needs to be done on that, and that's a major challenge. And in terms of, as you asked about states, more and more states need to adapt, come up with the draft policies. And then there should also be things like deemed approval on the open access projects. Right now, as one of my peers right now just mentioned, the way you perceive a policy or read a line, read a regulatory line in a policy is again a state subject. Yeah, the way one discom, so within one state there are multiple discoms, and it's a real life example wherein 3 to 4 discoms are offering open access approvals. One private discom is rejecting based on certain own interpretation of their open access policy. So, so there should be policies like deemed approval of your projects as soon as you apply them. So GOA rules allow that, but still, as I said, only 2 states have adopted, Maharashtra and Karnataka. Rest states have to follow. More states have to come up with open access policies. So that's what the biggest challenge is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Pankaj. One thing that I want to ask you, you talked about friendly states, which makes me wonder there are some not so friendly states, right? So which ones are those among the states which matter, right? From RE point of view, which are the ones which are not so friendly for you? I'm saying which are the states which are not so friendly, among the states which matter for RE.
So I would say,
in the sense that there will be states who would, let's say, who are still behind when it comes to responding to the kind of demand and the business opportunity that exists there, and the consumer opportunity that exists there. They're still lagging behind in terms of responding to it through right policies, etc. Which ones would you say they are?
I would say, everybody here has studied geography and can name all the states. I just mentioned 6 states which are friendly. Now, I believe the first priority should be states which are industrialized. So that is where you can unlock the maximum requirement. So some of the industrial states like Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Gujarat, they all have policies. UP has good policies, but UP in terms of industrialization, today RE development is only about 500 megawatt. Whereas if you compare it, Karnataka is 4.5 gigawatt. Yeah, so that's the difference. Now there are a lot of industrial states within India where you see a lot of demand. You will have steel industries, cement plants, which require 200, 300 megawatt of power. And they still have their own captive thermal power plants, which needs to be replaced with, green energy, renewable energy plants. So first priority should be at least the states who are industrialized, fully industrialized, they should come up so that huge amount of, requirement can be unlocked, and there you would see investment in those states coming up. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Pankaj, and thanks to all the panelists for your time. It was a great time to, it was a great time having this entire conversation with you. Various perspectives, based on the kind of background that each one of you has. Thanks for that, and I think that brings us to an end of this discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. I think we can have some questions in case there are some questions that the audience would like to ask. Just in case, we can take a few questions. Thanks. Yeah, so there's a hand there.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm from Houston, Texas, and the question is for the World Bank. We would like to start with also hydrogen initiative in the marine industry. No one has talked about it, and of course, being a good coastal country that is India, we would like to establish a very good roadmap and a good package where we need World Bank's help. Of course, I'll be connecting with the Washington, D.C. people also. My name is Syed Hashimi.
Happy to help. We can connect offline after this. Thank you.
Yeah, so if there are no more hands, I think that brings us to a close of this session. Thank you. Thanks for your time, ladies and gentlemen.